All right, hello everyone. Welcome. We see people starting to roll on in. For some reason, I'm hearing everything double. Is the audio working for everyone else? All right. Well, today's webinar is on From Hype to Reality, how AI is making waves in PR. So first of all, let's introduce do a short introduction for our guests. We have Stephen Waddington of Wadds joining us today, along with the co-founder and CEO of Propel PRM, Cutler. It's great to have everyone here.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Amazing. Definitely. So let's see, where's everyone else calling in from? Okay, everyone else can hear an echo. Interesting. Okay. Let me try something really quickly. All right, how about now? Can you hear an echo?
No, it's gone.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, awesome. So now that that's over, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to start off with a little poll. Now, what we like to do is, just see what are people thinking about AI and PR. Do you think the rise of AI and PR will make it easier or harder to build strong media relationships? And yeah, so I'm going to launch the poll really quickly. Okay. Well, Stephen, what do you think? Do you think how do you think it's going to affect the PR industry?
So two things. I think it's going to enable us to work smarter. So to synthesize data and information and make sense of that and present that. And I think it's also going to help us work more efficiently. So streamline processes and, especially administration things, and just help us work a lot more efficiently.
That makes sense. That's what I also think as well. Zach, what do you think?
I completely agree with Stephen. I think it's going to be actually a total game changer for the positive for PR and comms pros. I myself, before starting Propel, was a PR professional for many years. And I think that having these kinds of technologies can help PR and comms pros to kind of stop doing some of the more mundane and repetitive parts of the job and allow them to be freed up to do more of the parts of the job that we all love, the creative parts, the strategizing, the messaging, the relationship building, and all of that good stuff. So I think it's really an exciting era for our industry.
Definitely,
I guess
sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Just to build on that, one thing I would say, I think we've seen inflection points in the PR industry before with I've worked in the industry 30 odd years now, so I saw the internet coming and the way that changed media relations practice much for the better, and then also social media sort of 20 years later. And again, and I think we're at one of those inflection points, and I think it's beholden on practitioners to get ahead of this technology, understand how they can use it, and in the same way that we did originally with the internet and using email and the web, and then with social media, using social tools, just enabling us to work more effectively with media.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end the poll and see how the people here responded. And as we can see here, the vast majority of people do believe that it's going to be a bit easier. It's going to make things easier, just as we were talking about. The people that think that it's going to be harder, that's quite interesting. I'd love to see you guys drop in the chat and in the comments why you believe it's going to be harder, and what's going to be harder specifically with AI in PR. All right, so let's continue on a little bit. And first, what I'd like to talk about, is, who's joining us today. We have Zach again, Zach Cutler, CEO and co-founder of Propel PRM, excuse me. I just went accidentally a little bit farther there. Can everyone see the screen, by the way? I understand there's some technical issues going on right now.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Yes,
you can see it now. Okay. Awesome. So a little bit about, we have Stephen Waddington as well, founder and managing partner of Wadds Inc. And then you have me, the communications director of Propel PRM. And, Stephen, if you'd like to just introduce yourself a little bit, talk a little bit about, who are you, what have you done, and why are you so, why what in the world in PR you've done that, you're such a powerhouse in the world of PR. And we'd love to hear, like a little bit more about what you do.
For sure. I really thank you. I really appreciate the flattering introduction. So I spent my career in public relations agencies, originally working predominantly with media. So and my career, if you like, follows the evolution of technology. So first of all, I worked in an agency as the internet was being built out, and I created my own firm. That was called Radio PR back in the late 90s. And we benefited from the plumbing and systems that networking companies were using to build the internet, and then the first application layer. That role was very much firmly focused on trade media relations. Then I sold that agency and started another one, very much focused on, and again, the inflection point that we saw with technology around social media. So when organizations were trying to figure out how earned media and social work together, and that presented a huge opportunity for us to build relationships with media, with journalists specifically, and understand them. And that's seen as well through challenging times like COVID and so forth. Maybe we can come on and talk about that. I'm incredibly fascinated by AI and the potential of AI, just because I think it is one of those disruptive moments in practice, enabling us to make a step change in the way we work and work more effectively and efficiently. I think I'm 30 years into a career. I've very firmly focused on practice, but I've also got, over the last 10 years, I've had a leg in teaching and academia. So I've written a number of books, and I'm studying a PhD part-time, specifically researching the area of how we better align what we do in public relations with management teams in order to prove the value of what we do. So that's where I'm coming from, and I see AI as a tremendous opportunity for us to assert our value and use it as a tool, but assert our value as practitioners to management.
Eitan, you're on mute.
Thank you. No, that's really interesting, and I'd love to be able to speak to you a little bit more about that PhD program that you're doing. I think that's that's something really interesting and really important for our industry. And Zach, we'd love to hear a little bit more about you, and why did you decide to start Propel in your journey to get here to where we are today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us. It's really great to have you, and thanks again, Stephen and Eitan. And basically, as soon as I finished university, I started working in PR full-time. Even before I graduated, I had done an internship at Ogilvy, and I loved it. And I just have always been in the PR industry. And then I started my own agency. We were based in New York, and all of our clients were tech companies. So we were about 15 people, and we were working with all these awesome tech companies that were bringing tremendous innovation to their industries. And I was looking at my own industry and my own agency and thinking, man, there's really a lack of good technology here. Like, why is everything done in spreadsheets? Why is there no really good data that allows us to make our PR data driven? And started to get the idea of building the first CRM for PR. And it initially started as sort of different processes, mostly manual, within my agency. We developed a point system. Each campaign, we had a number of points as a goal and this and that. And then I started to realize to really do this properly, you'd have to build a full SaaS platform. And so I decided to sell my agency a little over 4 years ago and create Propel. And we're really excited a few years later to be serving hundreds of brands and agencies and bringing innovation to our industry.
Awesome, amazing. So let's go on a little bit. Now, first of all, can you hear me? I understand there's some technical issues on this side. Okay, amazing. So the thing that we would like to do now, that we've done the introductions is let's talk, I'm going to first talk about what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the state of AI and PR today, opportunities and threats of AI-driven PR tools, ethical considerations as a comms practitioner, and then a live AI pitch writer demo with our brand new Amigo software powered by ChatGPT. We are today releasing a brand new AI powered pitch and press release writer. And we're really excited to share that with everyone and have a live demonstration for the very first time with all of you here today. So let's get on with that. We're really excited for that. All right, so if we move on, we are Propel PRM. Zach, I'd like for you to, talk a little bit more about who we are, talk about why we're all gathered here today, and a little bit about the company before we head on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're the first PR tool that was actually built by PR people. I mentioned that it came from the need that I experienced firsthand at my agency. And so we created the first PRM, which stands for Public Relations Management, in 2019 to help PR professionals manage their relationships smarter, manage their campaigns, improve their workflow significantly, and get new analytics and data that they weren't able to before. Our dream was that within 10 years, every PR professional would use a PRM. And we've been so excited to see the industry kind of adopt PRM and it to become more and more accepted. And it's been really awesome to see that. And so, yeah, we've been rolling out different features that are unique and new to the industry. Our Gmail and our Outlook plugins, our business outcomes dashboards, our pitching preferences, et cetera. Now we have over 500 customers. We have the top brands and agencies like Microsoft and NPR and Real Chemistry. And we're just really excited to keep working hard day and night to bring innovation. We really love this industry. We care about it. We work closely to listen to our customers and incorporate their feedback into our roadmap. And so if we go to the next slide, as Eitan started to mention, we're super, super excited to announce Amiga. It literally just launched today. And you guys are going to be the first ones to see it, as Eitan mentioned. Amiga stands for Artificial Media Intelligence Generator and Assistant. So what it does is it creates highly personalized pitches. No other tool does this. It also creates press release drafts. So it does both of those things in seconds. It also has pitching preference data on each journalist that's quite unique. And if we go to the next slide, we can see that it's hot off the press. PR Week just announced our launch about an hour or two ago. So we're really excited to show it to you guys. And if we go to the next slide, I want to just zoom out a little bit. So if we think about what is artificial media intelligence, it's the second sort of category that we're coining at Propel. The first was PRM. which we came up with a few years ago. And so artificial media intelligence, which is AMI, is essentially unlike AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. It's specifically AI for the PR and comms industry. This is a brand new term. We're announcing it today for the first time, and we hope, like PRM, that it'll catch steam and it'll become a household term within our industry over the coming years. There's essentially three primary elements of AMI, which I'll get into on the next slide. But I want to just also talk about like really how historic this moment is. Every 14 years, we're seeing a major technology revolution in the world. So if we look back in 1993, that's when the internet browsers came about. If we look at 2007, 2008, obviously that's when the smartphones were invented. And the next major technology revolution happened at the end of 2022, just a few months ago, with rapid and shockingly amazing advancements in generative AI. Generative AI means that it's creating something new. That's why it's called generative. So it's all about language and natural language. And I think we're really lucky and fortunate as an industry that our entire practice is based around language and writing and communication. And therefore, I fully believe that our industry is set to be among the most impacted by this new AI revolution. And I think we have a lot to be excited about. 2023 is going to be the heart of this revolution, and our industry is at the heart of it. And so it's quite an exciting time. And to kind of get into the three areas of AMI, which are all part of Amiga. So we have pitch and press release writing, which you can see on the left. We have auto media list building. And this is a customized, hyper-relevant list of journalists that Amiga and AMI creates for each individual pitch. And then on the right, we have the pitching preference data, which is able to tell you things like, here are the top topics that a journalist has engaged with in the past, according to their real behavior with real pitches that have been sent to them. Here is the day of the week and the time of the day that this journalist is most likely to respond. So these are the three main elements of AMI. And Sam is going to drop a link into the chat as we speak, which will allow you to do a live demonstration after the webinar. So you can check it out for yourself. You can draft your own pitch, your own press release, and you can see what it's all about. The key thing that I want to mention is that AMI and Amiga is not about replacing your creativity. It's not about creating a draft that's 100% ready. It's not about that at all. What it's about is creating a base that gets you about 75, 80% of the way there. It does the legwork of some of the repetitive and sort of more mundane parts of the pitch creation or the press release creation. And then it's your job to kind of turn that AI-powered base into your human creation. AI is never going to be able to, replace the human spirit and human creativity. But our goal here is that it will replace some of the repetitive and mundane aspects of the job so that it can free up more of your time to do the parts that you love. And the last thing I want to mention is that our top priority with Amiga and with AMI is to make sure that it's safe, that it's respectful, and we've taken measures to ensure this in Amiga. And I personally and the company looks forward to working with people in the industry and organizations in the industry in order to ensure that AI for our industry is always going to be safe and helpful and all of those good things. So with all of that said, we're really excited here at Propel. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Eitan, and we'll get into the demo later on.
Amazing, beautiful. Well, we're really looking forward to that. And Stephen, we're really excited to have you here to hear your thoughts as well. So the first thing that we'd like to talk about, of course, is the state of AI and PR today. Maybe not today, maybe yesterday, because it looks like it has some big potential. But, we would like to talk about is, again, the state of AI in our industry. Now we're all in good company now with speakers, like you, Zach, people heavily involved in the AI space, particularly regarding how it impacts communications professionals. And for those of you who don't know, Stephen actually co-authored a report recently published by the CIPR called AI Tools and the Impact on PR Practice. So I really look forward to hearing some of the highlights from that report in our discussion as well. So Stephen, if you don't mind starting us off with the first question, how would you summarize the state of AI and PR today?
So the timing of this call is really apposite, because about a week or so ago, the CIPR published a paper that Andrew Smith and I researched and wrote, and we've been working on this piece of work for 9 months, originally starting it in June last year, and so the CIPR is equivalent of the PRSA, I guess, in the UK. It has a group of people who've been looking at AI for the last 5 years or so, and done a series of benchmarking pieces of work looking at issues related to practice. I'll drop some of the content into the links, but there's a really interesting piece of work that we did 3 years ago, authored by a guy called Jean Valland, Canadian practitioner, that looked at the impact of AI, potential impact of AI on human factors in public relations. This most recent report, we started it last June. We worked with a guy called Scott Brinkler to get access to a database that he's built. So he's a technologist who has built this open source database over the last 10 years or so of marketing technology. There's a subset of that technology focused specifically on public relations, and then there's a lot of tools related to content creation and so forth that bridge the two. So Scott gave us access to that data, and initially what we did was look through the data set and try to figure out the application of machine learning and AI amongst the tools. And we reckon we identified around 5,000 tools that could be applied to public relations. Only a tiny majority of those, around 2%, we estimated at the time, had any sort of AI or machine learning capability. And you see these, these technologies promoted and tend to be hyped by vendors. And when you scratch the surface, actually the reality is the application of AI has been quite slim. That all changed in November last year, as Zach stated, with the launch of the GPT. There's an array of tools built around the GPT-3 data set, and the report that was due to be published in October, we just put it on ice and kept working on it, and it was eventually published last month. So the current state of play is there has been an absolute explosion, and Propel's part of this story. It's been an absolute explosion since November last year of tools related to generative tools using the Chat GPT data set platform, and every single day there seems to be something new, and keeping ahead of it or keeping on top of it is in itself a challenge, and I'd encourage people. There's various open source resources being published around the web that are trying to track the emergence of these different two technologies. The current state of play is there's around 1,000 different tools in the area of generative AI, and these are focused not only on text but audio and video, synthesizing basically learning algorithms based, machine learning algorithms based on either existing data sets or training data sets with, with new forms of data. That's the first thing. The second thing is a range of tools that are able to act. And this is really interesting. And this isn't necessarily getting much discussion in our industry at the moment. A range of tools that are able to act on data, so help with decision making, help with analysis, and so forth. So there's these two forks, if you like. All the discussion at the moment is around generative AI, but there's also a lot of interest going around synthesis stuff. It is absolutely beholden, I think, on practitioners to get their head around this technology, not only because it can help their own workflow, help them work smarter, help them work efficiently. You've launched a tool here today, but also to consider the issues related to ethics, copyright, and singularity. If you've got a single data set that you use to train a machine, and you're outputting data from that data set and retraining using that data, then we're going to end up with a closed loop system where content starts eating itself. So these are three massive issues in practice, and that's where we leave the paper really. That we almost need to revisit this in 6 months, 12 months as the industry starts to mature. I completely agree with Zach. This is going to be the year of AI in PR. Expect at least the explosion of tools in this category.
Right. Now, you mentioned that there are about 1,000 PR tools. Some use AI, some don't, but PR tech tools in general. But we know that PR is actually it's such a slow industry to adopt technology. What do you think is one of the causes for that hesitancy for technological adoption in the industry?
There's a couple of reasons, I think, but practitioners, by their very nature, focus on words and aren't necessarily focused on technology. That's the first thing. Second thing, there hasn't ever been a line item until the last 5 years or so in the P&L for an agency or communication team for tools. If there has, it has been quite low, and it's been focused either on media analysis or databases, and that's the level of sophistication. It's quite interesting that Zach called out this issue out. In my experience, even today, the majority of communication teams or agencies are using a form of spreadsheet or list as one of their primary means of stakeholder engagement. That's Propel's big opportunity. You're selling a relationship management system into that market, but the market is is laggard as far as it comes to its adoption of technology, and it relates to those two issues, I think, skills and also budget.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, I think that as the technology matures, I think that price point is going to go down. And I think that also might be one of the big barriers. You're going to have a much younger cadre of PR professionals. On top of that, the technology itself will go cheaper, just as technology happens to do.
I think the really interesting thing, and this is one of the reasons there's been such an explosion around ChatGPT-3, is command line based. It's in a web interface. Anybody can access it and try it and use it, and you can get results out of it very, very quickly. And at a superficial level, those results look reasonably good. Now we can talk about different aspects and use cases, but it is so accessible that you can't avoid it.
Right, exactly. Now moving on to you, Zach, how would you compare today's AI impacted PR landscape to a year ago or 5 years ago, or even back when you started your PR firm back in New York almost well over a decade ago?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I completely agree with what Stephen said. I mean, when I started my agency in 2009, there were only two options for tools in the industry. There was media database and media monitoring. And the interesting thing is that the media landscape over the last 20, 30 years, as everyone knows, has completely proliferated. 30 years ago, you had your Rolodex of 15 reporters that you would pitch for a story, maybe, your core networks and a few trade magazines and whatever. Now you have hundreds between blogs and podcasts and all kinds of new media and traditional media. And even though the media proliferated so much, the tools didn't advance. The largest, most legacy tool in our industry was invented in 1860, and and as a database. And initially it was like a printed book, and then they put it online. But essentially, whether you're looking at database or you're looking at monitoring, these tools didn't evolve as the media evolved. So what you ended up having was PR professionals downloading really large lists, managing these relationships in spreadsheets, and then journalists end up getting pitched irrelevant things that even oftentimes they end up getting spammed or spray and pray pitched. And it created a big rift between the two sides. And so what we saw 5 years ago when we launched PRM was a lot of hesitation. Oh, do I need another tool? I remember at that time I did every single demo, and people were very hesitant except the true innovators. There was a handful who they were ready. They knew they wanted a tool to manage their workflow and their relationships and their data in a smarter way. But it's been tremendous to see over the last 4 years. The industry has significantly evolved. And I think the pandemic had an effect because people realized they have to be able to work really well from a distance from each other. So, and PRM helps tremendously with that. Also with the coming out of GDPR and CCPA, managing contacts in a responsible way has become more of a focus. And you can't do that if you're managing your contacts in spreadsheets. So it's been amazing to see the industry evolve. I think that in the last year, 2 years, we've seen the largest agencies and trickling down to medium and small to really start to focus on technology. And 3 years ago, that was not the case. So it's been a great development. And I think that the PR industry is on a really terrific track.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way too. It's been interesting to see how PR has changed from between when I was a senior editor at one of the top newspapers in Israel to today, seeing how technology is bringing the PR journalist relationship, how it's changing that, and how it's also helping the PR pro from the PR side, how it's enabling them really to do their job better and to manage those relationships a little bit better. Now, I'm sure we could talk about this for hours, but we're going to move on a little bit. So let's talk a little bit more about the opportunities and threats of AI-driven PR tools. As we all know, AI is transforming the PR industry for comms pros, and it's not all fun and games. So let's start to get into some of the biggest ways you can capitalize on these new tools and give some attention to key threats to keep in mind along the way. Here I thought it'd be interesting to engage in some high-level SWOT analyses on using AI and PR. So I'll guide us with a few questions. So let's start, Zach, let's start with you. In what ways do you see AI changing the PR industry in the near future? And what opportunities and threats, if any, do you see?
So I think the opportunities are enormous. I believe that AI and PR is going to allow agencies to become more profitable. It's going to allow professionals to enjoy their job more and their life more. I think it's going to replace a lot of the parts of the job that are annoying, that are repetitive, that are mundane. And I think it's going to sort of be a golden era, to be honest. I'm an optimist by nature, so I always think this way, but I truly do think that if you're a PR professional, a comms professional in 2023, there's never been a better time to be in this industry. And in terms of threats, I think in general with AI, we have to be responsible, make sure that it's kept safe, that there is not, you know, hatred or discriminatory things that are being generated by the AI. I think that's priority number one, and that's something that we want to work with the industry on and with the organizations in the industry on, just to make sure that we're really keeping the AMI safe and respectful and a positive influence for everyone.
Right, 100%. And Stephen, what do you think? Are you more excited or fearful about AI developments in the PR industry, and why?
So at the moment, it just depends what day you catch me on, because and what I've read, because I think, you know, there's huge excitement around the efficiencies and we can create. There's huge excitement about the potential of these technologies to help us work smarter. I mean, we haven't even started talking about, you know, the opportunities to incorporate these tools in measurement and analysis to prove the value of what we do. And that's a whole, you know, that's another conversation in itself. You know, it's brilliant to see you know, a vendor like Propel embracing these technologies and very quickly build them into its platform. You know, so yes, that lights our car. I'm a complete optimist. I'm also an academic researcher, very much part-time, but you know, I am concerned around the ethical issues. You know, you can see how easy it is to use these tools to create content, not only text-based content, but audio and video content. And you can see, you know, it's not a huge leap to see how that could be applied and weaponized. You know, I'd say at this point, we completely missed this with social media. 20 years ago, the advent of social media, we missed the potential of the social technologies to be abused and weaponized. And you know, we've come to learn the impact on our democracies and you know, the abuse of the public sphere. We're ahead of this, so hopefully, you know, my hope is that you know, we can start to understand and very quickly see these issues. You know, so misinformation is a big one. Discrimination would already covered. You know, if you've got a bad data set and you train a machine with that bad data set, the results are going to be bad. You know, so there's issues there. There's issues related to fair use, and it's interesting already the industry is starting to look at this from a legal and governance perspective. You know, related to copyright. You know, there's already legal challenges ongoing, not necessarily in this generative text space, but in the image generative space. So that's being looked at, and you know, and I've mentioned the issues related to singularity. You know, I have this great fear that we're going to create content that we published on the web and use to train the next generation of incorporate into the next version of GPT-4, GPT-5, and you know, this, you just end up with a you know, a means of singularity. I mean, you know, these are all issues. It's great that they're out there and on the table and we're discussing them, because I think, you know, we need to, we can't avoid this technology, can't put it back. You know, we need to find appropriate methods of management and governance.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that you mentioned was about social media, and something that brought to mind is that social media opened the door for a whole bunch of new industries, a whole lot of new jobs. You know, you have the creator economy, you have editors, you have different ways of viewing the world, you know, that are different than, you know, traditional video editing, traditional media, etc. So I am going to be asking you guys to both look into your crystal balls here. Stephen, I will start with you. You know, what do you think are going to be some of the skills that are going to be needed to not only effectively leverage this AI, but new even jobs perhaps that are going to be coming out because of this chat GPT, because of this brand new GPT technology that's coming out?
So, you know, the future is already here, but it's not even evenly distributed. You make the point about social media. You know, that created a whole lot of opportunity for public relations and, you know, a content marketing industry in its own right. There's actually another example before that, the SEO industry, which actually the PR industry completely missed out on. You know, the SEO industry focused on building relationships via, you know, content posted onto the web. You know, a completely new industry grew up around public relations that, you know, we largely missed because of technology issues. You know, thinking about AI and the opportunities that creates, there's a huge amount of fear at the moment, you know, that AI is going to steal our jobs. Actually, it's creating as many jobs as it's ever likely to displace. And, you know, if you go on to freelance communities already, you can see an explosion in AI skills, you know, from editing to fact checking to content creation, to modeling, to training and education. You know, these are already you know, already happening. I mean, you know, there's while we were writing this paper, we were kicking back this issue because you know, it's the next natural question. Well, what's the impact on skills? You know, and there's articles being written at the moment by the New York Times and so forth about the emergence of the prompt engineer, the person, the individual with the skills who's able to craft the prompts to instruct the AI tools to get the best performance out of them. So, you know, there's a huge amount of, as with any technology, you know, it creates a disruption, creates a displacement, and you know, it certainly seems to be creating as many jobs as it appears, you know, potentially to be threatening. I don't, by the way, get the argument that it necessarily will threaten jobs. Undoubtedly, you can see at an administrative level within media relations, it threatens some of the tasks that we do, but, you know, the opportunity is just to work smarter and more effectively, and apply it to work more intelligently.
Right. No, I totally hear that. So now, Zach, I'm going to ask you the same question with a little bit of a twist. Now, you know, looking into your crystal ball, we are going to, you know, again, what are some of the, you know, new opportunities that you see that this technology creating? But on top of that, what are some of the new skills that you view and believe that PR people are going to need in light of this technology in order to fully take advantage of it, and to really stay on top of their game?
I think that the skills are very similar. I think instead of, I don't know, 10 units of original writing, maybe there will be 5 units of original writing and 5 units of editing and curation. There will be much more of a focus on editing, curation, and taking the first draft from the AI and making it relevant and human and like really good. The AI doesn't know everything, obviously, and you know, sometimes it comes up with things that need to be optimized and need to be tweaked. I would say that that's definitely one thing. Another thing is that I think PR professionals will be freed up to do a lot more creative thinking and strategizing and relationship building, which are like very human things that can't be done by a machine. And all of this kind of reminds me of like what the math community probably thought when the calculator came about. You know, I'm sure there were mathematicians and a lot of purists that thought this is a horrible thing that is going to replace us. But we know that when the calculator came about, it actually freed up mathematicians to think larger picture, to spend more time on theory and on finding new equations and so on. So I think it'll be similar for our industry.
I could see that as well. Something that I'm shocked that neither of you guys spoke about, but I think that might personally is going to be important in how this technology is going to be changing the way of PR is, making prompts, learning how to make prompts and fully understanding 100% what it is that you want to write there. I was making the pitch. I was writing the pitch for our AI for Amiga, and one of the things that I realized is that I really had to know what I wanted out of my pitch as I was writing it, so that I could have the AI spit out what I wanted it to spit out, more or less. And so I think personally, that's something that we're gonna be seeing a lot more, is that if you can make a really nice prompt, and if you're able to, really get what you want to say into that prompt, I think that you're going to be able to make and create much better, AI-driven pitches and press releases. And then based off of that, you'll also be able to, add even more meat to that. You'll be able to write it the exact way that you want afterwards. And I think that's going to lead to really good pitches. So in any case, so we're going to move on from here a little bit. Let's think about some ethical considerations as a comms practitioner. We've gotten into this a little bit when we started using AI powered tools and resources and communications, but now we have to let's get into this in a lot more detail. So, one of the more important topics that we at Propel have spent time investigating and supporting is how to keep media relations intact, and how to make it a positive experience for both the PR pro and the journalist, even if we're using AI to do our jobs. So Stephen, what do you think AI will do to the relationship between communications professionals and journalists?
Well, it should make it smarter. The issue with this debate is our industry is so broad, practice is so large. In the UK, there's 100,000 practitioners. Inevitably, for every good one, there's a bad one. It will enable the smartest practitioners to apply technology to make their, not only their content more relevant, but also their pitching more relevant, and just work smarter and more effectively. One of the experiments I ran myself in looking at this technology was to run a report that I'd written. It's actually the report that Andrew and I wrote, 4,500 words, ran it through, synthesis tool. The synthesis tool spat out the, a summary bullet point by bullet point of the content. To all intents and purposes, that was the basis of a press release. But going further, I was then able to take that, push it through the playground within OpenAI, and get it to write a press release, get it to write suggested headlines for that press release, get it to write suggested quotes and so forth. So, and none of this content, by the way, is perfect. It needs human intervention to sharpen it and make it, more relevant. But it's providing 70% of the initial draft. In that case as well, I'm using my own content as the start point. I'm training using it, data that I've already created and providing it. It's just enabling me to work a hell of a lot smarter and more effectively than previously I might have done. So for the best practitioners, it's going to make them work even more effectively and improve the relationships with journalists. By the way, I'm absolutely convinced, we know this already, journalists are using these technologies to optimize their content, to optimize headlines for search, to optimize, body text for search, to optimize linking strategies. So the savviest PRs working with the savviest journalists are, going to be able to work together for good.
Right, I totally agree with that. And I think you were talking about CNET there, that was using ChatGPT for a few of its articles.
So CNET, yeah, so that's the focus. CNET has been doing that for a while, like, but even under the hood. So one of the things we haven't talked about here is optimizing, using these tools for measurement and for metrics. But almost all publishing houses, I would imagine now, are using analytics on the back end to understand the performance of content. Those analytics are then going to be used to train
Right.
their own models to understand what their readers want and be able to provide more of it.
Right, definitely. So I would love to be talking about this a little bit more. However, in the interest of time, so that we can get to the audience questions, what we're going to do is we're going to jump straight in to the demonstration. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to take off the presentation, and I'm going to go back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this slide here, to meet Amiga. So amiga, again, meaning friend in Spanish, or friend of the female version of friend in Spanish, is hoping to be a PR pro's new best friend. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click into it, and we're going to let it load. So if people who want to play around with it, when you click into that link that Sam sent a little bit ago, you will. And right now, you'll be brought to this page, and I'm going to show you guys how it works. So for the interest of time, we've already come up with a prompt. We've never used it before, so let's see if it works. So the first thing is, excuse me, let me get to the prompt. So here's the prompt. As you can see, the prompt is about writing a pitch for a $25 million Series A round for ABC Corporation, a company that uses AI to summarize legal documents quickly. I then am asking the pitch drafter to mention that the company addresses the pain point of reading convoluted legal documents. I'm sure something that we would all like to have. And then I would also like for the pitch to include that the funding is coming from 123 Ventures. I would then like for the call to action to offer a press release. So first, let's click on create my pitch. Now, of course, we want to personalize our pitches. So there's already a link picked out, fortune.com. We're going to see how this works. We're going to click on show me my pitch.
By the way, you can drop in the link of any article by any journalist you want to pitch, as Eitan just did.
All right, so it's generating. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm just going to input my information in here really quickly. Eitan Goldstein, Eitan at propelmypr.com. Propel PRM. I would like to see a press release as well. All right, email me the text. I'm just going to run over really quickly to my Gmail. If Gmail wants to load, of course. All right, here we go. Your pitch drafted by Amiga. Come on. Okay, and here it is. So we could see, hi, Jeremy. Just for reference, let's see who wrote this article. Just for reference, we can see that the article was written by Jeremy Kahn. Okay. So, hi, Jeremy. Hope you're doing well. I recently read your article on OpenAI's technology and was impressed by the way you discussed the potential implications of the technology on the legal profession. I'm writing to you because I represent ABC Corp, a company that uses AI to quickly summarize legal documents. We recently raised a $25 million Series A round from 123 Ventures to help streamline. This isn't a horrible pitch. This is actually quite good. This is 80% of what I would have written in any case. I would have just add, a little bit more meat to it. I would maybe change some words around, but I think this is pretty good. Stephen, if you received a pitch like this, what would you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start point. And that's it's a good example of how you're using an existing data set, the journalist's own content to train a model. It's good.
Yeah. And so, that again, like as we've said before, we highly recommend that, anyone using this would go back and that they would use this as a skeleton and make it their own. But that was pretty nice. That's about 80% of the legwork, 70% of the legwork here. And here we can see a press release. It's created and it's in the right format. Again, like you do need to go back in, fix things up a little bit, but by and large, 80% is right there, 70% is right there.
So using open tools like tools based on ChatGPT-3 with if you use them, ask them open questions, one of the concerns with them that we've discovered is that they can very quickly go off if they haven't the information you require within their own within the data set that you provide to them. They'll go and find it for themselves. So I cracking example very early on where I asked ChatGPT-3 to write a bio of me for me, bit meta, but you could tell it grabbed the first paragraph from Wikipedia, from a Wikipedia profile, but then you could see very quickly it went off and discovered information about related practitioners and sort of my age and gender. So yeah, I mean, fact checking is absolutely critical with this.
Right, exactly. And again, like before anyone really starts to send out these press releases or pitches, it is very important to make sure that that everything is factually accurate, just as you said, and to make sure that it's in your own voice as well. These are tools that are meant to really make a skeleton and help you get to that 70 to 80% of the way there, and then that other 30 to 20 to 30% is really the human touch that I think is really going to make or break your campaign. That human touch is just so important. So we do have a few more minutes. Let's take some questions and answers. So the first one that we're going to the first question that we're going to look at is a survey published last week by PRCA and ICCO suggests that 1 in 4 PR leaders say they will never use AI. So what do you guys think about that?
You probably get the same results 40 years ago if you've asked, do you think you'd ever use the internet or email? Yeah, is my gut reaction.
Yeah, if you look at the innovation curve for any new innovation, there's the innovators, then there's the early majority, then there's the later majority, and then there's the Luddites at the end. And there's always going to be those people who are resistant to change.
I'd say, as I said right at the outset, I think it's beholden, because of the speed with which this technology is developing and the ease with which it's impacting our practice, it's beholden on every practitioner to understand its application. And so to say you're not is just, doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Right. No, that totally makes 100% sense. This is the new way of doing PR, and I think that the people who don't really adopt the new technology are going to be left behind. Now, unfortunately, we only have time for one more question. How do you envision a PR agency responding to a client who says, you're reducing the hours it takes you to do my PR, so I want to pay you 70, 60, 50% less?
So I'm more of a results guy. So I think at the end of the day, a client wants to see results, and I think a good agency wants to deliver results. So if an agency is only about billable hours and not about results, I think that's not the way I like to approach things. So I'm a believer in giving PR and comms pros tools that allow them to get better results. And I think ultimately that will raise the tide, which will raise all boats.
Right. And Stephen, you get the final word.
Yeah, it's related to there's any number of ways to build a business model around how you provide public relations services. Selling it by the piece of content is the lowest common denominator, isn't it?
Right.
And go and find another business model if that's how you sell. Sorry, that's a flippant answer, but honestly, that's just commoditizing what we do. We're in the relationship business, and we're much more strategic.
Right. Amazing. Well, thank you both for joining us today. And thanks to everyone else from around the world who came and joined us, getting to see not only this technology, but talking about how technology is going to be impacting the world of PR. We're at the cusp of a really awesome and exciting technological revolution in the industry. And it's going to be really fun to see where it goes from here. Thank you so much, everyone. Good evening to those on the Eastern Hemisphere. Good afternoon and morning to those in the Western Hemisphere. And everyone have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Take care. And we encourage you all to try Amiga. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Bye.